let's just land here. Put your hand on your heart, and if it feels safe to do so, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. And another deep breath in and out. Welcome. I'm Airly. I'm a somatic safety coach. I'm trauma informed and I have a background in neuroscience research and a PhD. And I help women who have done all the inner work but still feel really stuck, and I help them understand what's actually going on and break the patterns that are keeping them stuck so that they can grow and expand without self-sabotage or burning out. And today I want to talk about why doing it scared fails. And I suspect in your growth journey that you have been told at some point that you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone because that's where the growth is, or just do it scared. And how is that working for you? Because in my growth journey, which I started in 2009, and I got more into the spiritual side from about 2017, I started getting really frustrated when I was working on my limiting beliefs. And for example, I was working on the limiting belief of I need to control the situation or the outcome of the situation to feel safe. And when I was putting myself into situations where I could make that choice, I could choose to either try and control the situation, or I could choose to make the scary choice and just let go of control. In the beginning, the first few times, it worked pretty well. But after a while, it seemed like I was sabotaging myself. And I was coming back very painfully back to square one. And I was asking people who I deemed more knowledgeable than I at the time in growth, like, why am I sabotaging myself now? It was all going so well, and now I'm suddenly sabotaging myself, and this happens every single time. And they're like, you just have to stop the self-sabotage, and you just have to allow yourself to integrate. And I'm like, okay, so how do I just stop myself from sabotaging? Why am I sabotaging? How does this work? And what the heck does it mean, just let yourself integrate? I have no idea. So it's only when I went back to my old research in neuroscience that I started to realize that this is not how our nervous systems work. And when we're told to step outside our comfort zone, that works for a few people. The people who are usually very much regulated and can very easily come back from slight dysregulation to being very regulated. But for most of us, if your nervous system does not feel safe, stepping outside your comfort zone will not result in growth. It will actually create shutdown. So let me just show you what happens when we step outside our comfort zone, what happens to our nervous system. So here I have my little brain, and this is the front part here, the prefrontal cortex. Now, when we're completely regulated, we operate from the front part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, because this is where the logical thinking is. This is where clarity is, presence, choice, connecting with our higher self, and decision making. And it's where change and growth is actually possible. Now, let's just show you inside. Here is the prefrontal cortex. What happens is when we push ourselves out of our comfort zone too fast, do something we've never done before, our nervous system, whose job it is just to keep us safe, it does not care if we're thriving, if we're happy, it just wants to keep us safe, which to our nervous system means keeping us alive. So if we've done stuff in the past and we're still alive, it's done its job. Now, if we're going to do something that we've never done before, our nervous system is like, I'm not sure about this. I don't think this is safe. We're in unknown territory now. And while I have a think about this, I'm going to knock you into dysregulation where I know you're safe. And when we're in dysregulation, we're no longer operating from the logical part of our brain. We're actually more in the middle of our brain, functioning from the amygdala, which is also known as the reptilian brain. And here, we're only interested in survival. We're only interested in what we need to do to get through the day, to get through the situation. And this means when we're in survival, we are now acting out survival patterns that have kept us safe in the past. Like, there's no clarity when we're operating from our amygdala. There is no connecting with our higher self. There is no logical reasoning. There is no expansion. You're now behaving in the same behavior patterns as what kept you safe. Maybe you came up with those behavior patterns when you were 4 years old because it kept you safe. Maybe when you were 8 years old. Maybe when you were 13. And it takes a lot of energy to operate from survival mode because you're just trying to get through the situation, yet you're trying to function in your everyday life as well, and that takes a lot of energy. So when you're told to do it scared, what is happening is you are training your system to override its own signals. You're training your system to abandon itself. And over time, that doesn't build confidence. That builds a deeper dysregulation that is even harder to get out of. And the more we are in dysregulation, the closer to burnout we actually come. So lasting change doesn't come from pushing yourself hard through fear outside your comfort zone. It actually comes from creating enough safety in your body so that you can stay present as you expand. Because another thing that happens when we feel safe, when we're trying to expand, sorry, my brain just fell apart. Another thing that happens when we're trying to expand and it feels unsafe is we will always come back to where it feels safe. We will come back to that level where it does feel safe eventually. And what happens is when we push ourselves, it doesn't feel safe here, we will sabotage ourselves back to whatever baseline actually feels safe. So how do we grow and expand without freaking out our nervous system? Well, there is a system that is used quite a lot in trauma-informed coaching called pendulation, where you expose yourself very, very slightly to what you find is scary, and then you come back to safety. You expose yourself again very, very slightly, and then you come back to safety. Now, I would add to that you expose yourself slightly to something that you find is scary, and then you regulate your nervous system. So we're teaching our nervous system that this is safe. We are not going to die. It's okay. And this system is a lot faster than the old pendulation system, and also a lot faster than pushing ourselves out there and sabotaging ourselves back to our baseline level. So I'm going to give you a practical experience now. I'm going to help you find your place of safety so that you always have a safe place to come back to when you're doing your growth, when you're pushing yourself slightly, when you're stretching yourself slightly. So take a deep breath and out. And if it feels safe to do so, close your eyes or lower your gaze and just notice the sensation of your body touching the chair. Just notice the sensation of where your body is connecting with the chair. The sensation of where the chair is touching maybe the back. The sensation maybe of where the chair is touching the back of your legs, your upper back, perhaps your lower back, your buttocks. Just where the sensation, just notice the sensation of where your body is touching the chair. And now I want you to scan from the top of your head down and just notice where in your body you feel safe. You might find you have a feeling of safety in the back of your shoulders or the backs of your arms. It might be in your abdomen. It might be in your legs or your hands. So just scan your body and see which part of your body feels the most safe. And if you can't find a part that feels safe, just look for the feeling of neutral. And when you found that part of your body that feels safe, I'm now going to take you to finding a place that feels safe. And this place can be somewhere that you know or somewhere in your imagination. Just think of a place where you feel completely safe. It could be a room in your home. It could be a beach at sunrise. It could be in the mountains, in the forest, near a stream. Just think of a place where you feel completely safe. And just notice what feels different in your body right now. Where it feels safe. Maybe it's a subtle feeling. Maybe it feels more space. Maybe it feels a little bit softer, a little bit more present. This is what safety feels like. So open your eyes and come back. So that is the safe place that whenever you're starting to feel a little bit scared of something that you know you want to do in your growth journey, you know it's aligned, but it does feel scary. So I want you to always come back to that safe place where you feel completely safe before you go forwards again. So now you have your safe place, I want to give you just a few quick regulation tools so that once you get to your safe place, you can also regulate your nervous system. And you probably know quite a few self-regulation tools, but these are the ones that I find the most effective. The first is breath work, and I know that breath work is not for everyone. So if breath work actually feels a little bit stressful for you, then just don't do it, because the aim is to calm your nervous system, not make it even more stressed. So when you're doing breath work, it's quite simple to calm your nervous system, to regulate your nervous system. All you need to do is breathe out for longer than you breathe in. So you could do a simple breathe in for the count of 2 and breathe out for the count of 4. because when we breathe in, we're activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is the stress response. And when we breathe out, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest response. So as long as you're breathing out for longer than you're breathing in, then you're regulating your nervous system. Another really quick and easy one is to stimulate the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve, it starts from around here and it goes down and further down to your body. And stimulating the vagus nerve is a really easy way to regulate your nervous system. And one of the easiest ways to stimulate the vagus nerve is to hum. So either hum a song or sing a song, or you can do the breathe in and then hum on the out breath. And you can actually feel where it's vibrating. So humming is a great one, or singing along to a song. The other thing is we can do tactile stroking of the vagus nerve. That feels quite soothing. And then we can do what is called havening, which is tactile stroking of the skin, any part of your body, wherever you find is the most soothing for you. I particularly like the backs of my arms. Sometimes the underneath of the arms is quite soothing as well. Anywhere on your legs, your arms, whichever part of your body works. That's havening. And the last one I wanted to share is shaking. So you can just shake your arms, your body, your legs, just shake everything around for however long you need. And one of the most effective ways of doing this, and you might not want to do this in public, or you might want to, if you lie on your back, arms and legs up in the air like a beetle, and then just shake your arms and legs. That is a really effective way of regulating your nervous system. So it's up to you where and when you do that. So how do we apply these tools to our growth? Well, if we think about, for example, something that will expand us but is very scary. For me, it was giving a talk. This is actually my first talk. And just the thought of signing up for this talk was very scary. So what we can do is, remember the pendulation, we do a tiny, tiny bit at a time. So the thought of signing up, okay, scary. I exposed myself to the idea of even signing up, regulated my nervous system, brought myself back to safety, and then did it again. Thought about signing up again, regulated my nervous system, came back to safety. Until the thought of signing up for doing this talk was no longer scary. So then I signed up. And then having to actually put the talk together, and one of my big indicators where I'm dysregulated, because I know that sometimes it is very difficult to tell when we are actually dysregulated, because don't forget, when we are dysregulated, we are operating from the amygdala and we're not aware, we're not thinking logically. So sometimes we don't even realize when we're actually dysregulated. But one key thing for me is I procrastinate. So I was procrastinating putting this talk together. Then I recognize, okay, this is dysregulation. So I just need to find one tiny thing to do. Okay, I will write welcome. That's all I will do. That will be the first part of my script. And then I will regulate my nervous system. And then maybe I'll write my next sentence. So we take baby steps until we can regulate ourselves and we've come back to our new baseline of safety. And to be honest, this works so much faster than had I just, dysregulated myself and done the talk and sabotaged myself back down, because I used to do Facebook lives And I don't know if you've also felt this yourself the first times you've ever done Facebook Lives, where it's quite terrifying. We're completely dysregulated. And watching somebody in that state, we can tell they're dysregulated. We can feel that energy. It's not fun for them, and it's not fun for the people who are watching instead. So when I did those lives several years ago, I did a few. I stopped because I was so dysregulated, and then I kind of hid for 3 months. So that kind of would have been like 3 months to come back to a starting point, whereas here it just took a week for me to be able to do this talk. So we can grow from a place of where we're not dysregulated, where we're not constantly putting ourselves into survival mode, and we can grow from that place a lot more faster and a lot more painlessly. Not because it's forced, but because, or not because you overrode your system, but because you found a way to work with your nervous system. So the next time you start to do something, you feel like, I want to do this, but I'm a little bit scared. Instead of thinking like, how do I push through this and get it done? Think, what would help me feel safe enough to be able to face this? And keep bringing yourself back to this feeling of safety. Because you don't need to be braver than you already are. You just need your nervous system to feel safe enough for you to be able to expand. And this is the work that I do. So if this resonated, I'd love to share my free guide where I give more tips about how you can grow from a more regulated nervous system without putting yourself into dysregulation and doing it scared. And if you would like that, then do drop your favorite emoji below in the comments, and I will be very happy to send you that. So thank you very much for being here.